Hey babes, I'm Cynthia.
And I'm Beverly. Grab your favorite drink. Let's sip and chat.
Welcome to Tipsy and Truthful, the podcast.
Period. Hey babes, welcome back to another episode of Tipsy and Truthful. This is the podcast where two best friends sip and chat about life, relationships, parenthood, and everything in between. I'm Beverly.
And I'm Cynthia.
And this is our third consecutive non-video episode. And
Yeah.
do you miss being on camera?
I do.
Yeah.
I just miss like elements and parts of it. Like not the whole. I'm not gonna lie and say that it's not a lot of work because it is. It's so much work.
It's a production.
It's a full-on production, and that's the part. Like setting up and taking down is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Getting dressed and getting like mentally prepared.
And waiting for Beverly to do all the stuff that she has to do before we can start.
Exactly. It's a lot. But I do miss watching it. I do love how easy this is to like just go, let's do it wherever we can.
Yeah.
Because we could just pick up and go our mics and all of our little things. It all
Yeah.
fits in one box.
Yeah.
But I do miss watching us.
Like the first one we did at my house, the second one in Jessica's, and now we're at your house.
Mm-hmm.
So if you
Easy.
guys hear the background noise, we
Churring.
apologize. the
Churring.
kids are like 10 feet away.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't miss it as much. I don't miss it at all.
I get that.
I like the easiness of this.
I get
it's
it.
just a lot less stressful for me.
And I feel like once we get into like I think that the biggest reason we took a hiatus was so that we can focus on the areas that we felt like we didn't have time for.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully at the end of it, it's been like 20 something days.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully at the end of whenever we decide that we're ready, we don't feel like it's such a stress.
Right. I don't want it to feel like a chore. That was what
Yeah.
I kept saying.
Well, and thankfully we stopped it before it started really feeling like that heavy.
Exactly.
Because I never want us to not love this
Mhm.
fully.
For real.
And I think that we had to tread lightly because our mental was falling apart,
Yeah.
and that was just making that part of it not enjoyable.
No.
So I get it, but I do miss watching us.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that eventually we'll go back, so I'm not worried.
Okay. So let's talk about our highs of the week and our opportunities.
Listen, go first.
I'll go first. So I made like a sneak announcement this week that nobody caught. Okay. So this will be a test. To see if anybody,
Our true supporters.
so if any friends or family are actually listening.
Mhm.
So we're expecting a baby number 5. Surprise.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, no, I still can't believe it.
When she told me, the funny thing is that when Beverly told me, she just called me and she's like, "Hey, expecting baby number 5. Let it simmer. Bye." She just clicked. And she left me with all that information, and I literally didn't say a word after that. We didn't talk to the next day because I was still processing. And I woke up and I was like, "Yo, was that like a dream?" Or she's like, "No, that was real life."
Yeah,
I
I'm
was like,
still
"Oh."
processing, Cynthia.
Okay. All right. Well,
And
hopefully it's a girl.
it happened to coincide with our start of our
Yeah.
60-day hard.
God knew.
Yeah.
Before we knew, God knew.
Before we knew, because otherwise we had agreed to do the 60-day hard
Mm-hmm.
before, like obviously before I had any idea. Because
Mhm.
we would have been taking shots on shots on
Mhm.
shots, and me with a baby.
Yeah. But thankfully we were like, you know what? We need a spiritual, mental,
Break.
physical break.
Yeah.
And it came just in time. It was, I
Right
think,
on
God preparing
time.
us.
So my high of the week is actually my sneak announcement and how I announced it to the girls because it was so funny.
So funny.
So for the first, I wanted to tell my girls before I did anything else. So we went out for Mother's Day for dinner, and it was just the girls, me and John. The boys have a hard time still, like in a restaurant
Mm-hmm.
setting. So we decided to leave them, and I was like trying to think of the best way to do
Listen,
it
if you hear babies,
in the background. Sorry,
it's Joni with his. He's such a baby.
he's such a baby, right?
That's the joke, though. 'Cause he is a baby.
He is literally one. Yeah. So while we were sitting at the table waiting for our food, I just texted them a picture of an ultrasound, and I had John recording them, and just waited for them to read it, and I wrote, "Congrats, you're gonna be big sisters again," and
They were like, "What?"
instant panic. It was so funny.
No, it was just the instant, like, not only panic, but like, it was so many emotions. You could
I
see
think
it.
they were shocked.
They were like,
first.
"You are trying?" and you could hear you in the video saying no because it was a surprise.
It was a surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, you told me this, like the power of words. I kept saying on the podcast, like, yeah, I really do want a fifth. I really do want a fifth.
It's mostly you.
I was waiting for
you're in
the
the word police.
I know.
You didn't police your own words.
I did not. I have something to say about that towards the end.
Okay.
But yeah, I was thinking about it. But anyway, yeah, that was my high of the week. And the surprise announcement that nobody caught except Vonnie. I put a picture of Jonas. I sent him to school with a Big Brother t-shirt. And at school, everybody noticed. In his daycare, I got a huge thing. They posted on the Facebook page for their daycare saying congrats. And yeah, it just, all I did was take one of those pictures that they took at daycare and post them on my social media. And nobody caught the fact that Jonas was wearing a Big Brother shirt. So I'm like, all right, I'll just leave it like that.
Yeah.
People will find out when they find out.
People are going to find out if they hear our podcast.
Period.
Yeah.
Oh, Jess, surprise.
Surprise.
Not even Jessica
Yeah.
noticed.
I mean, nobody, only me, the girls now, John.
Mm-hmm.
Like the circle was small because you were still not only processing, but you wanted to make sure everything was safe.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you were still processing again.
It feels different this time. I think me knowing that I'm going into this knowing that this is my last pregnancy,
It's different.
it feels so different. Like I
Mhm.
feel like I have to share. Like I don't want to make a big announcement. I don't want to make.
You want to keep it private,
I wanna
intimate.
wait.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to enjoy every second. I didn't do that with any of my 4 other pregnancies.
Mm-hmm.
It was just go, rush
Mm-hmm.
for all 4 of them. With
You're
Ali
more
and Liana,
intentional.
even more stress. And
This goes back to an episode that we had a million times, that you're never the same parent at different stages. And the fact that you realize that you didn't enjoy or you didn't take the time because of the place that you were in your life
Mhm.
with each of these pregnancies. There was something major going on in each of these
all
pregnancies.
4 of them.
I know because I was there.
Mhm.
So I think that this time, with the way that the dust has settled in your life,
Yes.
I feel like now you're not much. Now you're older, you're wiser. I feel like you're in a better place mentally, financially, places that you weren't in before when you were pregnant before.
This is the first time in my life, never mind pregnancy, that I'm consciously trying to be present
Mm-hmm.
and intentional.
Mm-hmm. It's different.
I've never experienced that in my life. Never mind growing another human.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Which I understand.
It's special.
It is special, especially because this is the last one that you're gonna feel it with.
I know.
So
It's like
enjoy it.
it's like bittersweet.
Bittersweet. I know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Low of the week.
Opportunity.
So,
Word police.
yes, I'm so sorry. My opportunity of the week. I don't think I have one.
That's okay.
I think my week went pretty smooth.
What was your opportunity last week?
To continue working on my was it my reactivity? I don't even remember. It was something that's in the
Pregnancy
week.
brain started early for her.
Super early. I don't remember. It was something
And I
that,
honestly don't remember
that I had
either.
said. Yours was
No, I
keeping your emotions in
I
check.
remember mine. I don't remember what you said.
Mm.
I think it was something about your routine or your schedule or something like that.
Probably. Sounds about right. But I don't remember.
Anyways,
I don't know. My week was pretty smooth. I think this
smooth sailing.
finally saying this baby news to the girls is like it just felt really good. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and it probably felt like, oh, I don't have to keep
Right,
being
I hate
careful
lying
and
to
like
them.
yeah, or it wasn't really lying. It's just like making sure that everything was like that you had your first appointment, that all
Mhm.
those, making sure that everything was going the way that it's supposed to. I don't
Right.
think that's lying. I think you were just being extra safe because especially at their age, you don't want to tell them right off the bat and then something goes wrong, God forbid, and
Yeah.
it's like having to break that.
Yeah.
You were saving that
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that everything was okay, and I understand.
Yeah.
So yeah,
How about you, babe?
listen, my week has been a week that's been weakened more than any week has weeked before.
You said that for the past 3 weeks. I hope
Babe,
you know
it's
that.
just, it's been like nonstop. I'm exhausted mentally. Literally at work, I thought I was having a panic attack.
I'm gonna commission for you to just take a break from work for a week, an entire week.
I can't do that. But especially because we're at the end of the school year, 5th grade, they're graduating. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts,
Ugh.
a lot of huge moving parts. You know, placing kids in their new middle school. Like I'm not gonna have these kids, and I honestly, because I know these are gonna be my last kids. Like that's just like your pregnancy. I'm enjoying this last ride with them because I've had them for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I know them so well, and I know that they're anxious about having a brand new school, brand new teachers, like people having to get to know all the things that we already know about them.
Yeah.
That's like for kids on the spectrum, that's tremendous because that's monumental, like that's
Yeah.
scary, and that's just so many emotions that they feel that I don't want to add to that.
Oh, you are honestly. I know that this job is stressful,
I love my job. It's just hard.
and you're so good at it. The compassion and the amount of thought that you put into everything.
Because I love them and because I've had them forever, and I wouldn't want to do that to them, their parents, who are already in very stressful situations all the time. And my coworkers, like we're a team, and if I'm missing and I'm not doing my part, I'm also adding to their stress, and we're all stressed.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm the only one stressed. We're all we're all as a unit just stressed, exhausted, like to the point that I cried 3 times this week because it's mostly the traffic.
I don't think it's the traffic.
It's the traffic just adds another layer.
Yeah.
My job is very hard.
And then you want to finish and go home and rest, but you have
And
to
I-
sit in your car.
For like today, we left work 3:40. I didn't make it to Cairo's daycare till 5.
Oh my goodness.
And by the time I was done talking to the daycare lady, it was 5:10. And by the time I made it home, 5:20.
That's nuts.
So I'm exhausted. Like the drive is killing me. I think once again it's so busy and the kids are having such huge emotional breakdowns every single day. Like literally, like we're falling apart.
Ay, hombre.
We're crumbling, as I like to say at work. Everybody's like, we're crumbling. That's the word I use when we're like really in the dumps. But like our kids just been like through it, and we're through it. We're going through it too. So I'm tired. And so yesterday, let me go back. Let me just say a little.
Are you gonna give a high of the week or no? It sounds like
I don't have one. I'm gonna be 100% real.
Hey, we have weeks like that. That's real.
I feel to the point that yesterday I had a very. I literally cried when I was telling Beverly.
Yeah.
But yesterday I was so stressed because not only was I in traffic for the hour and 15 minutes, I made it late to get Cairo from daycare, and he had a baseball game. My son is a baseball player.
Period.
And his games are in Haverhill, right? The amount of traffic that I was in trying to get to his daycare. Okay, so usually I'm home by 5:30. I didn't make it to his daycare till 4:50. I mean 4:30. I didn't make it to his daycare till 4:50, and that time is the time that I'm usually leaving for Haverhill to get him set up for his baseball game.
So you were just late on late.
So we
on
were
late.
late on late. So we had to drive from daycare to my house, put his uniform on, a cup on, like the whole 9. He hadn't ate nothing. And I was so frustrated because he was frustrated, and he started kicking a shoe.
Kicking his shoe.
Because he was just mad and he didn't know what to do. So he was kicking his shoe, and I walked by the room when I'm like frazzled, looking for any type of snack to put in a Ziploc. And I see him kicking a shoe because he's mad too, because I'm mad. And I yelled at the top of my lungs. And I've never felt. Let me just say exactly what I said, because these are words that don't come out of my mouth, especially towards my child. I said, and excuse my language, because honestly, I've been working on my swearing. I don't know if you guys noticed. I've been trying to keep my swearing low and eliminate it completely from my vocabulary. But like I yelled and I said, "Are you fucking serious right now?
Oh my god!
Why the fuck are you kicking your shoe when we're fucking late for this baseball game?" And he looked at me with his eyes and didn't say a word, and he immediately started crying. And even though we were late, in that moment I felt like a complete ass. And I had to take the moment, and I was like, even if we're late, I gotta apologize, because that was an ass move. And I told them, Papi, I'm very frustrated now with you. Nothing that happened today is your fault. Mommy overreacted. Mommy's just very frustrated, and that was wrong of me to like yell at you like that. And I feel horrible for yelling at you like that. I am so sorry. I gave him a hug. I apologized 1,000 more times, and then I calmly got him dressed, even though I knew we were late. But I didn't want him to be more stressed.
You didn't want to add to his stress.
And I was stressed. And I was like just adding to my stress. And in that moment, I was like, you're just stressing yourself out more. And for what? You're still late.
Yeah.
And could put yourself in a dangerous situation because you're so frustrated, because you're so anxious, because you're going to be late.
Yeah.
And that's not fair, because I have my child in the car, obviously. So I immediately I was like, well, we're late. But let me take this time to apologize for being such an ass parent.
No, stop. Because when you told me the night we talk, usually like when we're making dinner.
let's even bring that up. We haven't even been talking like that this week. That's how bad things have been. I'm just so exhausted to the point that I went to bed at 8:30 on Tuesday, because I was just like, I can't deal with life right now. Yeah.
But you were beating yourself up. You were telling me about it, and you were like getting choked up, and
Yeah.
you were feeling like an
I want
ass.
to cry now
But
because
what did I tell you?
you were right because she said the fact that you were able to recognize it at the moment is huge because I'm still working on it. And the thing is, for me, yes, I completely, yes, I need to give myself more grace with that. But knowing that I hate being yelled at and I don't like to yell, and that I lost my cool at that moment and yelled at him when he had literally no fault,
Mm-hmm.
made me feel so shitty.
I know, but you are also human.
Yeah,
And this is actually what inspired today's episode. These are things, babe, that we're learning.
I know,
As we're learning them, we're trying to teach them to our kids.
which is so hard
So that
to simultaneously learn and teach is one of the hardest things. I mean, that we're doing, that we could do, that it's you have to be, once again, the word is intentional and conscious of
and
what
graceful.
we're, and graceful. Yeah, we can't forget graceful.
We gotta forgive ourselves
I know.
and
For
not
being
sit
shitty parents
in the
sometimes.
moment
Yeah.
and beat ourselves up, because honestly, we're trying to do this work so that tomorrow, when our kids have kids, it's gonna be so much easier for them.
Yeah.
These are things nobody ever taught us.
Mm-hmm.
We're picking up the manual today and trying to learn, and at the same time, we're flipping through page 1 and then be like, okay, so for page 1, kids, what we learned today was that's some
Don't overreact.
that's some tough stuff.
I know. It's very hard, especially when you feel like the world is on your shoulders all the time. When you feel that constant pressure and stress, it's a lot. Especially when you're trying to, like, for me, I think the hardest thing is finding a balance of like what I do for a living and also giving my all to my child. Because I give so much at work to kids that are not mine, that feel like my kids, that I think the reason why I feel burnt out all the time is because I'm also doing the same for my own child, because he deserves that from me.
Yeah.
He deserves me to be there for him and be, even if I'm tired, to truck through and play with him and talk to him and do homework and do it gracefully and patiently like I do at work.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And I'm
Yeah.
exhausted.
So what we're going to talk about in this episode is basically the things that we are currently learning, working through in real time,
Mm-hmm.
that we're trying to teach our kids at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like especially us millennials, we
Have the toughest job.
I want to rephrase that and say we have been the most intentional out of all the generations. We're the first ones that are actually looking around and be like, wait a minute, why do we keep passing on this trauma generation to generation? Like, we got to stop it now.
We gotta be the generational trauma breakers or stoppers or whatever.
Right. So babe, I feel like you should start because you kind of already said it. The first thing that you are currently working on now that you're trying to teach your son.
I think for me definitely is my stress management, the blow up as I like to call it. Because even though it doesn't happen often, because it doesn't, especially with my child, like I try to keep it, once again, sorry for the noise. I try to, honestly, if I'm stressed, keep that away from him, because he is not at fault for the way that I handle stress. Like, it's not his fault. It's not his responsibility. And so managing my stress, but also teaching him how to manage his stress is hard, because when he's stressed, I'm always like, I step in and I was like, all right, so when we're stressed or when we're frustrated, what should we do? And I'm like, all right, let's take a deep breath. Let's tell yourself that you're okay. Tell me why you're stressed. Why do you feel that way? And I do it at work and I have to do it here. And like my job, that's all my job entails. Let's talk about our feelings all day long. And let's find strategies to manage those feelings that are okay to feel. But it's just the way that you manage them, the important thing. Like doing it in an efficient way where you're able to talk about them, but that they don't consume you, that they don't control you, that they don't dictate your behavior. And that's hard.
Yep.
So I'm still working on that, clearly.
I feel like mine is related to yours. One, I've said it multiple times here. My reactiveness.
Yeah.
And it's not just when I'm stressed. Like, I feel like I'm very snappy. And I'm working on that and teaching that to my kids. Because guess what? They model our behavior. So I've seen both of my daughters get snappy with me. Jace is not as verbal, even though he's 6. He's not as verbal, and Jonas is only 1. So I haven't seen it with them yet. But of course, as I'm learning, like, okay, when I'm reactive and I snap and I go back and I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it that way. Like, it's hard to catch myself in the moment. For me, and this is what I was telling Cynthia. For me, a lot of times I won't even notice it. Like I'll have to sit down and be like, "Oh, wait a minute, why did I snap like that?" And then call my mommy, come here. I'm so sorry. I just snapped at you. I'm stressed out. It has nothing to do with you. I'm so sorry about that. So again, learning and teaching. Because when they do it, I have to catch them and be like, okay, I know you're upset and you're welcome. You are have every right to be upset, but your sister has nothing to do with that because they do it to each other all the damn time. How many times have you heard me say that to them? It's okay that you're upset, but your sister has nothing to do with it.
And it's okay to feel that way, but when you project that to other people, that's where we have to like redirect. You know? So
Should I go again or should I feel I'm gonna do another one because you kind of mentioned it too in what you said.
Okay.
You're better with this than me, but expressing emotions. It's not something that I really learned growing up, and it's something that I'm learning to do now because I've always been one to kind of like just swallow it and just be like, I'm okay, I'm strong.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm learning how to express what I feel and at the same time teaching them.
Yeah.
And that's freaking hard
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes I don't even have the vocabulary
Mm-hmm.
to help them get out their words and their
Mhm.
feelings. So yeah, that's another one that I'm currently working on.
Let me just say something about that expressing emotions. I think the hard part is that for most of us, our parents didn't. They thought the best thing that they could have done is hide the way that situations made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so because that wasn't modeled for us, we didn't know how to model that appropriately. I think that the strongest thing you can do, the bravest thing you can do in front of your child is to express emotion
Mm-hmm.
and to let them see you work it out. Them seeing you go through the process gives them a model and a blueprint on how they should do it when you do it obviously in a safe, effective way. And because we didn't get that with our parents, it's kind of hard to model because it's like
Because I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
exactly. But like it's parents, I really want to put a disclaimer that you should not hide the way you feel from your kids
No.
because it makes it difficult for them to express to you. They think the right thing to do is hide the way they feel all the time. That it's not okay to feel the way they feel. And we need to break that.
Yep.
And it starts by you showing emotion and letting them see you work it out.
Yeah. For real.
Okay. For me, also another one is active listening.
I don't even know why that's on your list.
It was mostly because of you, like for you, because I've seen you trying to do this, and we've talked about this in another episode. When we were outlining this, I remember you saying, sometimes as parents we want to jump,
and give them a solution.
give them a solution instead of just listening.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just want you to listen. They don't necessarily need you to tell them what to do. They just are trying to vent, get those feelings out, get those thoughts out. So like just letting them just talk until they feel comfortable, like until they feel like, oh, I feel better,
Mm-hmm.
is something that sometimes I have to do that too. To be honest,
It's hard because again, as parents, we
You-
just
you
want
wanna
to fix it.
yeah, we want to fix it, but sometimes they don't need fixing. They just want to just talk to you,
Yeah.
and we need to just listen.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's a good one actually. Loving myself. So another thing I'm working on, self love. We say this all the time up in here.
I mean, the reason why we're doing a break is because we're giving ourselves the love that we deserve.
And that's something I sat down with my girls and I explained to them.
Mm-hmm. Same with
Like,
Carla.
what happened with the podcast? And I sat down like, okay, I was feeling X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I love doing this and I don't want to stop loving it. So instead, we're going to take a break. We're going to do this, audio only so that we have more time to go out to the park, to go get ice cream.
Especially this summer with all of our plans.
Right. To go get ice cream, to do this, to do that. And they understood. And I'm showing them how to love I'm scheduling time to do my nails. Like that was never a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking them with me sometimes. Like, and self-love is not only about like
Physical
doing your nails
appearance.
and getting a massage. It's about the things that you do every day. Like for me, it's setting healthy boundaries and letting them know. Well, I'm setting this boundary because it doesn't feel good to me.
I get that.
Excuse the children in the background. Do you have another one? Do you want to add it?
I think another one for me is boundaries. I've learned in the last. This is something that I'm learning still, even though we've said it on the podcast. a gajillion. I feel like sometimes we're repeating so much is because we haven't mastered these things.
No.
And we're constantly trying to give you guys strategies
That
and
we're learning in
that
real
we're learning
time.
in real
Yeah.
time. And so, boundaries has been something I struggled my whole life, still
Mhm.
struggle with.
Mhm.
But also my child, the biggest reason for me to continuously work on my boundaries and what I don't feel safe with, okay with, anxious, sad, is because of Cairo,
Mhm.
because he also has a hard time setting some boundaries with friends, um, in situations where he's uncomfortable but he won't like say like I'm uncomfortable or this makes me sad, and so I'm continuously working on setting boundaries. It started at home, and let me tell you, in our 2 episodes ago, the first episode we had that was videoless.
Mhm.
We talked about us wanting to operate in our femininity.
Yep.
And setting boundaries in my home, obviously with my husband, has ruffled some feathers. But because I do ABA by trade, I was able to train in some areas, um, some behavior that needed to be changing, and has worked beautifully in my home. And so, but that's also a boundary, because I had to change behaviors with new behaviors that I had to put in place for me to
Mhm.
protect me,
That's what boundaries are.
and so that my son sees me modeling them.
Yeah.
So when I bring them up to him, he's like, "Oh, I understand what a boundary is.
Mhm.
Like I see it."
Yeah.
So that has been. I mean, that one is something I'm working on, but it's not as hard as I thought. It's a little uncomfortable, and we've said that before. But boundaries is something that I'm actively working on every day.
Period.
How about you?
I have one that I think this one's huge for me. Is at the same time as I say love yourself, also recognize when there's parts of you that need to change, because too often I just hear this and it's such an ick. Yo soy así. I'm just like that. If it's something that people are constantly bringing to you, like, hey, I feel dismissed when I try to talk to you. Hey, like if people are telling you that something is bothering you, the response should never be, this is just how I am. We should have space for growth. We should be always evolving. We should be always like, there's room for improvement. That's something I'm learning. And that's something, again, that I'm teaching. If my kids ever came that and said this whole, that's just how I am, ew, I would feel like a failure as a mom, honestly.
Especially because we're working on having empathetic, respectful children.
Yes.
I feel like respect starts by not dismissing other people's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Empathetic is understanding other people's feelings,
Mm-hmm.
trying to really feel what they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and especially in a world that doesn't care about anybody's feelings, that's
Lamentablemente.
one of the biggest things that I hope that my child, continues to do even as an adult, because man, empathy is one of those things that people lack, like you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't believe. People,
Mm-hmm.
there's no empathy. That's the reason. The number one problem in the world is the lack of empathy.
The lack of empathy. For real.
And not being able to only think about being self-centered and thinking about yourself
Mm-hmm.
when we're supposed to be thinking about others.
Yeah.
So you can't be truly a good person if you're not empathetic. Good one, babe. For me, a huge one that I'm mostly teaching Cairo, but also in the process of like teaching myself, is being courageous. Now, when I'm talking about being courageous and brave, I'm talking about not being afraid to try things, not being afraid to put yourself out there, um, to be the center of attention.
Mm.
Something I've struggled with my whole entire life, because I like I've said, I don't like to be noticed. I don't like to bring attention upon myself. So Cairo is not like that, but I want him to never be afraid to try things, even if that means that he might fail,
Mm.
because there's so many lessons in failure. You
Yeah.
know, you can learn so much. Courage is one that I'm working on.
Okay. I have one more, and it's like my spiritual journey.
Mm.
I haven't been, honestly, like praying. Like I haven't been teaching my kids to pray. Like we haven't been going to church and all of that. And that's something that I'm working on myself, and also teaching them now. Like it's
Mhm.
something that you and Cairo have always done.
Mhm.
I think having like that spiritual anchor is important. I don't know. I just want them to know like that there's a set of eyes on you when I don't have my eyes on you. You know?
A moral compass.
Their moral compass. That's my goal really. So yeah, that's something.
And a lot of people are I always have to put my 2 cents in. A lot of people don't. I mean, once again, I hope people understand that this is, what we feel is the right way.
Right.
Of having, like, that's just the way that we, how we operate. Having that moral compass. Like, it's important. It was instilled in us, and I just want to continue to instill that in my children. Right. And by no means, that means, like, I don't know what's the right word that I'm looking for. I'm just, a lot of people are like, religion and this, and it's just like.
Well, we've said it here, and I'll say it once more. Every parent knows what's best for their child.
Thank you. You took the words out of my mouth.
So, yes, I'm saying that that's important for me to learn and for me to teach my kids. I'm in no way saying that every person listening to this has to do the same.
See, you can work on my thoughts.
Okay. So, yeah, none of the things that we're saying we're saying you need to do this for your kid. Me as my kid's mom, I know that these things are important to me, and so they're important for me to teach them to them.
Yeah.
But no, we're never going to be on here saying you better do this with your kid.
Yeah, no. Listening to my body is something that I am learning to do, because I'm very hard on myself, especially when I set out to do something. I feel like if I don't stick to it and if I fail, then I'm a failure. Like, if I don't do it, I'm so hard on myself. And Carol's the same way. I realize that every time I go to school for, like, report cards and stuff like that, like, if he doesn't finish something, he's so hard on himself that he gets upset. And I don't like that, because I don't want him to feel that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
That it's okay. Like, you tried your best. That's all that I'm asking.
Right.
But he gets so worked up and so worried and so anxious about, I didn't get to finish this. And he gets so fixated on that I'm trying to do that so they can see it.
You. Yeah.
For sure.
You were beating yourself up the other day because you didn't go to the gym.
I haven't gone to the gym in 2 days.
And what did I tell you?
That it's okay to listen to your body. And it's crazy because I had, like, a legitimate reason. Like, Tuesday, I felt horribly sick. Like, I had a headache that I still had. Day 3, I still have the same headache. Oh, I don't understand. My eyeballs, when I close them and open them, if you're a doctor, let me know. Should I be worried? Because my eyeballs, behind my eyeballs, I don't even know what the head is called. It just hurts. Like, it feels uncomfortable, like pressure. Weird. And I don't know if it's like a lingering migraine, because Tuesday was really bad.
Yeah, sometimes migraines can last forever.
So just listening to my body and being graceful with myself, that it's okay, that I'm not a failure, that I'm still working towards my goals, that I am not lazy, is something that I'm actively learning, practicing, but also trying to pass on to Cairo.
Period. I wanted to so that concludes our, the lessons that we're currently learning and trying to teach our kids at the same time.
Oh, I had one more, actually. The sticking up for yourself.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that they were rolled into one.
Well, no, the more I think about it, no.
Okay.
Because
go ahead.
My last one is sticking up for yourself, because once again, this is why I was going to say that it's kind of rolled into the boundary, but at the same time, it's like being vocal about, like, no, this really bothers me. This really hurts me in every situation, whether it's professional, not professional, family, not family, friends. I'm still learning to do that clearly, but Cairo for sure is struggling with that. And that's why it's important for me to actively work on that and teach him that, because I'm just never want him to be in a position where he's begging for friendships or begging for people to, like, listen to him and play with him and things like that, or people, like, do things to him that bother him. And him not say, like, that bothers me. That makes me feel uncomfortable. That really hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
So.
And I've heard you say that you monitor that. Sometimes he's on his iPad playing with friends. Yeah. And you are, like, listening, and then you're like, okay, tell him you're gonna call him right back, and you have a chat right there.
Oh, for sure. I don't let those opportunities pass up, because he needs to understand that it's not okay to beg for friendships, right? Or beg for people to want to play with you or want to like you or any of those things. So. That, and especially in this social media world, it's so tough. Yep. That's why it's important to catch it. It's a teachable moment in the moment. You can't let it pass by. Anyways.
And yeah, so now that concludes.
Yeah. Jessica, this for real concludes.
What we were saying in the beginning when we were talking about the power of words and the word police and all that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what you're going to say.
We've been jokingly saying to all 6 of you listening, to all, ha ha ha, only 3 of you are listening. No, there's actually 4. No, there's actually 5. Why are we downplaying our worth?
Wow.
No, we're changing that. We're coming up with a new thing on the spot right now. We are the number 1 Latina-owned podcast.
Oh,
okay.
Period.
We're gonna claim it. You know who I heard this from?
No, for sure.
No, for sure. Miss
They
B.
always say
Simone.
they're number 1.
She's been saying that they're the number 1 podcast in the world since episode 1, since nobody even knew that they started a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and guess what? I don't know what
number 5.
I don't know what but they're in the top
number
charts.
5. Number 5. For
they're
real.
Because why? Because they declared it, and they're not declaring that 6 people are listening like we are.
You're right.
So we gotta stop doing that. Okay.
You're right. You're right.
So to our thousands of listeners, thank you so much.
Millions.
Our millions of listeners, thank you so much for tuning in.
Wow,
We love you so much.
For real though.
And yeah, and we're gonna invite you to use the power of your words too, and stop declaring shitty things like we were, like jokingly.
Yeah.
Not even jokingly. We can't be doing that no more.
Yeah.
We won't be doing that no more.
You're right.
Okay. So
Dang.
we have a nugget of the day. That could be the nugget, but you had another nugget of the day about being. Should I just say it because I remember it?
What were you gonna say?
You were gonna say
I know. What did I say?
this whole thing about how we are learning these things as we are teaching them.
Yes. The nugget of the day is to practice grace.
Yes.
Because once again, like we stated in the beginning of the episode, learning and simultaneously teaching is probably the hardest thing you can do in your life. And on top of that, being a parent, a present parent, and doing all the things that, that don't involve just teaching, but like actually caretaking. Our job is very hard. And I think that the number one thing that you need to be conscious of is that you need to practice grace. And your kids need to see that. And you need to feel that. I mean, we're feeling it all the time here in this podcast. But it's important, guys, that when you need to, in moments that you feel like you're crumbling, you don't crumble. And you really look at the work you've done and what you're doing for your children and their futures.
Yes.
So
thank you for that nugget.
thank you for reminding me because I completely forgot.
No problem. So yeah, thanks, babes, for listening to the number 1 Latina-owned podcast in this
Amen
whole
to that.
in the world. Okay, we love you so much. Thank you for tuning in, and
Thank you for not getting tipsy with us.
but still keeping it truthful.
Bye.
Bye.